Welcome to
Welcome
our live
to
show,
our live show,
Family Matters.
Family Matters.
Family Matters can be
Family
understood
Matters
in
can
two
be
different
understood in
meanings.
two different meanings.
The family
The
that
family
matters to God
that
and to
matters
people,
to God and to people,
and the matters that
and the
occur
matters that
inside the family.
occur inside the family.
And I can
And
think
I
about
can
both, and
think
I
about
can
both,
discuss
and I
both
can
in many
discuss
occasions and
both on many
in the times
occasions
to
and
come.
in the times to
And I have
come.
so many ideas
And I
that I
have
would
so
love to
many
discuss
ideas
with
that I would
you
love to discuss
as
with you
parents,
as
grandparents,
parents, grandparents,
and children.
youth, and children.
I don't think there is a
I don't
more
think there is
important
a
time
more important
to
time
really strengthen
to
our
really strengthen
family
our
and
family
discuss the matters
and
of every
discuss the
family
matters of
like
every
today.
family like today.
There are so many challenges
There
that
are so many
occurring today,
challenges that occurring today for each family. And I don't have to enumerate them because you all know them more than I do. Whether your child is in kindergarten or in primary grades or high school, or you are newly married and you are thinking of children, or you are married and you are worrying about how your marital life is going, and many other issues that I would like to bring every time. Each session will be as good as your questions. If you send me very intriguing questions, with the grace of God, I'll do my best to answer them. And there are no boundaries to what you want to ask. The questions can be asked through Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, or the channel itself. The question will come live while I'm talking, and I'll do my best to answer as much as I can. And in coming times, I'll collect more questions and I'll answer them as well. This particular time, I would like to discuss with you the issue about how to educate your children about sex. And the more I think about it, the more I say, I would like you to know that Saint Augustine himself really wrote something that we ought to be all aware of. He wrote that how can we be ashamed of issues and organs that God was not ashamed when he created? And with that, I would like to start by sharing some of the points until I'm ready to actually answer some questions. Regarding the sex education, there was a survey of over 300 adults, educators, and parents, and some older but single parents. In your opinion, at what age should sexual and reproductive health be discussed with young people in school? And if you look at this pie graph, 42% said should be discussed before the age of 11, and the other 47% were discussing between ages of 12 and 15. Collectively, the majority of those adults think that we must discuss those reproductive health issues in 87 or 89% before the age of 15. They asked another question: who should discuss sexual and reproductive health with young people? And the majority, 81%, said parents and caregivers are the ones to discuss these issues. Now, why is it important to discuss health and sex education at home? Again, I can easily give you many reasons that all of you may have. The lack of sex education at home will result in exposure to abuses, bullying, and tendency to accept wrong concepts. Many of our adults today who have wrong ideas about sex were young one time, and no one cared to discuss with them sex education at home. And now they are growing up with wrong ideas that's scary or filthy or sinful, or we should avoid it, or we cannot talk about it, or it's taboo. All of that are wrong ideas, secondary, that we did not even bring it up. Also, people who avoid discussing it at home will result in their children growing up as scared, anxious, suppressed, because they don't know. And because it's unknown and it's being brought up by so many hush hush issues, they tend to not know what to do. Unfortunately, there is a lot of perverted sexual concepts today from bad friends and from other media that makes these areas, if not given in a clearer and cleaner way at home, you leave so much to be interpreted in the outside world. Now, I think none of the parents or even children who are listening to me will stop by saying we cannot talk about it. If mom or dad uncomfortable and said we are not going to talk about it, they will look for answers somewhere else. So my friend who is a parent, or my son or daughter, I understand where you come from. It's uncomfortable. But in the same time, if you don't do it, unfortunately, kids will look for answers elsewhere. And one of those areas that really gives very dirty ideas are really porn. Home will result in probably bad marriages in the future. As a matter of fact, some of our wrongful marriages today, some of our inappropriate behaviors within married couples are due to lack of proper sex education, the clean sex that God created, and He was not ashamed when He created. We never talk about this in a dirty way, although the media may do. But we, who we know God, we knew that He spoke of it, that this is the place where the Holy Spirit dwells. My body is a holy body, and the Holy Spirit dwells in me. How can I take the organs of Christ and make them the organs of a harlot? Now, when you prevent your child of learning cleaner and purer ways about sexuality, you leave this person to learn more and to try and maybe experiment what we call sometimes masturbation, or even something that's growing rapidly among our families. I call it sexuality confusion or sexual identity confusion, which I'm sure we'll talk about it in the near future. Some of the wrong ways of handling sex is to handle it in an extreme way. You are too uncomfortable with it and you don't want to talk about it, and all of a sudden you are talking about it in a very extreme way. It could be healthy, but usually it's very extreme, that you want to scare them from it because you think by scaring them you are going to protect your children. Wrong to really talk about sex and try to detail things. That's not the issue. You are teaching them concept about how pure sex is and what is the design of sexuality in the mind of God. The third point is sometimes when we come to talk about sex and sexuality, we actually defiles what God purifies. God made everything pure and clean and holy. But because I have a corrupt, unclean mind, the way I handle it, I am handling it in a filthy way, in a defiled way, in an unclean way. And all of a sudden, I am really discussing it not in the best way. So there are so many ways that we can handle sex wrong. But one of the other ways is to really give wrong information. When we talk about sexuality and sex, it's very important that we study, we learn. We hear things like this. We go and ask, we go and read. One of the bad things that we may all have heard growing up, that masturbation causes blindness or you lose your mind. And there is no scientific ground for this. And if you try to give it to your boy or to your girl to scare them, they may not disrespectfully laugh at you, but in their mind, mom and dad, they don't know what they're talking about. It's very important we give scientific areas and always think that you are not exactly giving something that God had defiled. You are speaking about purity and cleanliness. I also would like to speak about what are the principles when you speak about sex. When you speak about sex to your child, please speak with utmost respect. This is godly design. God created sex. So how can you disrespect it, you laugh at it, or you minimize it and you talk about it in a bad way? Also, try to speak simplistically. Do not complicate the issues. And every age has its own timing and its own type. Do not avoid any questions. Every question must have had an answer. Sometimes you may say, listen, I'll tell you what I know, but I need to go back and read and I'll get back to you. There is nothing wrong with that. But the worst thing you say, we are not talking about this. In our family, we don't talk about that. That's unacceptable. You leaving so much for interpretation. Either you do not know, or you are so scared to speak about it. So it must be scary or so important that you are afraid to talk about it. Might as well your son, will go and find answers elsewhere. Also, please find the correct source of the information to your son with. Do not try to make up things, and do not try to speak in a way that incorrectly or myth, or you brought up something you heard somewhere. Go and read. There are enough scientific areas about it. Also, we do not give all the knowledge in one time. Your kid is growing with you. And the more he or she grows, the more the knowledge should grow, a little by little. And I'll come back to that. The information need to be conveyed in a simple way, a non-scary way, and in a correct source way. Please do not, while you as a parent may be very shaky, may be very embarrassed, may be sweating because you're talking about something very uncomfortable, please don't lose it. Please do not get out of the chair and you don't want to talk about it. Just prostrate yourself with the sign of the cross. Ask God to give you wisdom and speak calmly. And if there is an area you don't want to know, you don't know what to talk about, ask for some time until you review it. Speaking about sex is not the most easy thing. And none of us, when we did it with our children and we spoke about it, felt comfortable. But do not exaggerate and do not either minimize. The way I like to use, and it works in every single stage in life, always speak about the altar of God. I find that it calms our children and gives our parents the ability to not be scared. Always say, do you know the altar in the church? Is it always covered? Who is allowed to enter? Who is allowed to uncover it? Can anyone place in it? Can it be used in anything but to sanctify and to purify? And all of a sudden I use that and say, God also created, my darling, your sex organs, to be covered, to be not touched except in the right time and in the right way. You do not play in it because it's like the altar. It has a specific function, and the function hasn't even happened yet. Do not scare your boy or girl, but rather bring the altar in every time you speak. You never fail if you bring the altar. God purifies, God sanctifies. God made the whole body as a place for the dwelling of the Holy Spirit. Speak in that category. Also, tell your child, God made these sex organs covered because this is the most important part where God is going to use it one day to help him creating a new child who could be a saint that earns the kingdom of God. I would like to also show you this screen because this book is very interesting. It's published by one of my reverend fathers and friends. His name is Father Luke Stephanos. He's a psychiatrist by training, and he published this book called Purity, an Orthodox Christian Curriculum. In my opinion, every family and every servant should own it. Because the good thing about this book that it gives an idea about what to say in each category of age. If your child in the fourth grade is different than when he is in ninth grade, and so on. And because of that, I personally think this book is a great help for many of you to really use it. Now, when do you start about sex? That's a question came from several of you, and I'm looking at the questions, and one of them, my child is in the fourth grade. Am I allowed to start talking about sexuality? And in my opinion, yes. You should talk about sexuality in every age. And every time you want to speak about sexuality, it's always in every phase of life. Um, so, what we can do is in early childhood, you can speak about sexuality. Beginning of every phase, like in early childhood, then primary grade, then high school, and so on. And the book that I alluded to will help. Also, when you gather in a Thanksgiving or you gather in Christmas time or birthday, sometimes I find it very useful. If you and your brother, for example, the two uncles, would get the cousins together in a room and you play together, and then one of the uncles open up a topic and you guys start talking about it. Quietly, no disturbances, make it a little funny and in the same time very respectful. You and your brother or you and your friend, the uncle of the children, are willing to actually speak in a lighter way, not in a very tough way, and accept occasional laughs, occasional embarrassments, but never disrespectful. Same with you, my sister. You can have another auntie or your sister or a friend of yours, and the three, four girls together, your girls and her girls. And after you went out for an outing or you went for a pizza and you guys are sitting together, maybe you are uncomfortable, but your sister or friend may be less uncomfortable, so she's willing to talk about it. And then it will be easier because your girls find aunt so and so is speaking, and it will be easier for her to respond to. Also, I find it very interesting today that um, unfortunately we see many things in the streets. If you are living like me in New York or any big city, that you see things that your children cannot cover their eyes of not seeing. They may see a boy or girl kissing, or they may see even two boys or two girls. And you walk with them and you cannot just shield their eyes. I mean, it doesn't work this way. So, what do? I think once you get in the car, and in my opinion, the car is one of the best places for sex education talks. They are almost captive audience. You talk to them without anyone listening. No one will budge in the car to listen to. The kid will feel comfortable because he's alone with dad or alone with mom, and they hear each other. By the way, I just received the question. Speaking, I think Nardine asked that question. Um, can a mom talk to her boy if the dad is uncomfortable? And I want to say there are no rules for this. There may be some recommendations, but there are no rules. One of the recommendation is it's better for the same gender. The dad talks to the son and the mom talks to the girl. But there are no rules. I have seen boys are very close to their moms, and the moms are much more talkative than the dad, and the dad feel very uncomfortable because this is not something he will ever do. And the boy has no embarrassment or shame that mom talks to him about this. And I find nothing wrong with that because when you do this, it's actually somebody has to do it. So if it's not dad, it can be mom. And if it cannot be dad or mom, then invite somebody from outside who is close to this boy or close to this girl, hopefully same gender this time, and let them talk to them. Invite them, as I said, to a game, and after the game, you guys are eating together, and this uncle or this aunt will start talking, and hence you do not make them feel uncomfortable. One of the things that we all do, and sometimes it's not quite right. When we are watching a movie together as a family, and all of a sudden there is a sexual scene coming up, and every single one in the family start looking for the remote control and trying to shield the camera and not put anything in front of the kids, and they don't want them to see anything, and all of a sudden the kid is trying to learn what's going on, why dad's so angry or so scared, why mom's so anxious, why are they looking for the remote control like crazy people. And I'm not here to tell you what you are doing is wrong, but what you are doing is insufficient, is incomplete. And the reason I'm saying this, because if you were to do that, you made something that's completely could have gone okay into something they want to explore. Like any strange thing, like any prevented thing, they want to know why it's prevented, why it's prohibited, why it's not allowed. I want to know. And curiosity will make them go and try. They may go and ask, they may go and find the movie, they may find the clip, and all of a sudden, you let a major area in your parenting for your child to be gone without you in charge of it. And you allow the media or bad friends or who knows what are teaching your child. And although it was an occasion. So, one of the ideas I have given to some of my colleagues and parents, when that happened, after you close the TV or whatever happened, tell them, do you guys know why I'm doing what I did? And they may laugh and they say, of course, Dad, we know what it's talking about. So you tell them what exactly is happening. So they may say, oh, they are having sex. Some of the boys and girls, they already know what's happening, if they know. And if that's the answer, talk to them. Tell them, guys, I want you to know that our body is where Christ lives. And our church and God have made a system. And the system says that the relationship between a man and a woman must be blessed in front of the altar. And once they bless them in front of the altar, we call that wedding. That wedding makes that man and that woman become one body. And then when they sleep next to each other, they are like one body. So when I'm sick and I put my hand on my head, is that embarrassing? It's not embarrassing. Exactly. When this man and this woman who are married, or mom and dad, sleep next to each other, there is nothing embarrassing or shameful about it because both of them are one body. But what do you think is happening in the movie? They are not married. They did not keep their vows. They did not promise God in front of his altar that we will care for each other and we are carrying the Spirit of God within us and we want to keep our bodies clean and pure like the altar. So they are breaking the design of God. And when we break the design of God, we lose the blessing. And when you lose the blessing, God is not in the family anymore. So I want you guys, I want you, my son and my daughter, when you grow up, that when they grow up, they become, I want you to become really men of God and ladies of God. You respect your body. You purify your body. You keep it like the altar. And when you see something like this, you know that this is not correct. This is not how the design of God. The design of God is so beautiful and so amazing and so pure that we do not want to miss it. A question just came, I'll answer it, then I'll go back to the discussion. How can I control my child from watching porn when he has his own phone and his own room? I would like to dedicate a full time to discuss porn in another time. But since the question came, I'll talk about it, but I promise maybe another time, hopefully, maybe the next time, we can talk only about porn in our houses, the uninvited guest. For now, I just want to tell you, in my opinion, as a father and as a servant, you as a mom have the right to care for your child and you are responsible for his or her growth. You, mom and dad, pay for the phone. You, mom and dad, have a contract with this phone with AT&T or Verizon or whatever it is. When you sign the agreement with these companies, they give you a warning. If you exceed the number of minutes, you pay this. If you do not pay in time, we'll give you a warning. If you don't respond to the warning, we'll give you a second warning, then we will cut the line. I want you to have some sort of agreement with your boy. You are giving him the phone, and the phone comes with responsibilities. And you tell him, listen, I respect you so much, and I respect your freedom. But I also am worried about you and your future, both on earth and in heaven. Because as you know, my darling, some of the things that you are going to visit in the phone may not please God. So let's agree on few things that allow you to keep the phone and allow me to pay for the phone. One of the agreements will be between you as a dad or as a mom and your son or daughter. If I find that you are using the phone inappropriately, and you need to define that, you are using the phone after 11 p.m. at night, that's your call as a family leader. If I find that you are using the phone during school, if I find you are using the phone during liturgy, if I find your grades are dropping, or if I find something unclean that you have visited, I have the right to give you a warning. The warning will mean I am taking the phone for a day, for a week, whatever, it's up to you. And then I give it back to you. If you break the rule one more time, I'm going to double the warning. So I'm going to take the phone for 2 days or 2 weeks, whatever you want. If you break it third time, I'm taking it for 3 weeks. So this is one way. The other thing is you can also tell your son or your daughter that you, as a responsible kid, should learn what enters your body as the altar of God. Can I bring bad pictures into the altar in the church? Of course not. So, how can you bring bad pictures in the altar of the body? Many other thoughts, but I'll leave you with those now. I received another question. What is the best age to talk to my kids about sex? And what should I speak to my son or his dad? So I answered the second question already. I said the dad preferably speaks to the son while the mom speaks to the daughter. However, there are no specific rigid rules, and there are some males are uncomfortable and some females are more comfortable, and some boys are closer to the mom, so there are no certain rules. What is the best age? I said the age is any age, and the sooner the better. So if your child is in third grade, I wouldn't talk about sex, but I will talk, for example, that the roses in the garden and show him or show her why are they different? There is a green, there is a red, there is a white, there is a dotted, and show them the butterfly, why they are different. God likes differences among his own creation. So you and your sister, me and your dad are different. We have different responsibilities. Each one will do different things, and our bodies are a little bit different. And then start talking in another year about the fish. How is the fish, for example, has can leave a little thing that comes from her belly, and then the fish, the ball that is fish, comes and touch that little thing that comes from the mama fish, and after a while, a little bit of new fish comes, and the mama fish puts the small fish in her mouth until the real baby fish comes out and is able to swim. Show them some um, graphic pictures without real colors or anything, just pencil lights. What's the relationship between the butterfly and the rose? So that's an early one. Once they get to an older age, and I assure you, they hear in health education classes in the fifth grade and up about the anatomy of the boy and the anatomy of the girl, and they actually know much more than we sometimes want them to know, but they know through the sex education classes. So the question here is, how can I balance what's being given by friends and school and what I ought to give them as a parent? So you have to ask them, what did you learn in the health education? What did the teacher say? What did your friends talk about after the class? And keep asking them. Don't ask yes or no questions, but ask questions that's called open-ended. And what did you feel about when the teacher said that? And how did you feel when your friend saw this or did this? And let every stage grow a little by little into the knowledge. And also, again, the book that I mentioned could help. So another question that just came, how can I help my child avoid pressures from his or her peers? I don't think you can. Let me just be as frank as possible. In today's generation, you cannot avoid pressures. There is no way. Unless you seclude your child and you don't allow him not just friends, but no friends, no TV, no camera, no iPhone, no internet, no Xbox. There's no way. I think that the question should be a little bit modified. How can I balance the pressures that my child is receiving in church and school and media with what I like him to learn as a holy home, as a family that respects God? And that's what's more important. There are so many knowledges out there, including things about sexual confusion, sexual identity confusion. I'm a boy, I'm a girl, maybe I'm not sure if I'm going to be a boy or a girl. Okay, you need to tell him what we as Christians know. because the Bible and Christianity have not changed for all these hundreds and thousands of years. We are not the only one who teach the Bible and Christianity and the family as a unit of the Bible, of the church. You cannot stop pressures, but you can balance pressures by healthy education, like the one we're doing today. If you tell your child about how the Bible speaks about the sanctity of the body, the purity of the organs, the place of the Holy Spirit, the holy oil that touches literally every part of our bodies to consecrate them and make them a place for God to dwell. And speak and speak and add and make the child to be proud to be having that body that God dwells in. Tell him that God created sex in such a way, very clean and very pure. But the media and the world like to defile it, distort it, disfigure it. But we want to teach you, Habibi, what is the right thing and what are the right thing. I always like to bring that example. You all may know one of those agents that we can use to open when you have a clogged sink. It's a very acidic solution. And when you have a clogged sink and the water is not going through, you bring that and you put gloves and you get the kids away and then you throw this and it opens the sink. But it's written on that box, hazardous. Beware of children. Don't let any drop go into your eye. If a child touch it, take them immediately to the hospital. Why? It's helpful. It's valuable. It's beneficial. So let the kids play with it. No. The kid has to play. The kid is not allowed to play with it because it's not allowed for certain ages and has certain indications for use. And unless you are an authorized user, you cannot touch it. Why can't we think of sex like that? Why all of a sudden sex became anybody's business? Anyone can do anything with it. And people can, redesign the idea. I don't like it this way. Let me do it this way. Let me plan it in a different way. It's my purity. It's my body. Yeah, but there is a designer of sex. God created sex organs. And he created it in such a way that must be respected and abided with and followed. If I decide to use it in a different way, I'll be burnt. It will hurt me, although it's very valuable, very beneficial, and will help me a lot. But in certain times, it can hurt me because I used it wrongfully. That's how I want to teach my child. Another question, how can I prepare my daughter for physical boundaries without coming across too strong and controlled? I like that question. So that mom is asking, my daughter is growing and she needs to put some boundaries, physical boundaries, but I don't want to be overprotective. And I want to pick on that part before I answer the question. Some of us who have Middle Eastern ideas of how to grow up were grown up in such a protective, sometimes overprotective way that we worry so much about my daughter, her purity, her virginity, and we sometimes make them suffocated with the way we talk about it. As a matter of fact, and I hope maybe one time we can talk about it, we are sometimes even wrong in thinking so much of the girls and don't think of the purity of the boys. That's a more a Middle Eastern culture, has nothing to do with the Bible. The purity is not gender specific. It's for boys, for girls, for monks, for priests, for dads, for moms, for grandma, for grandpa, for everyone. But coming back to the question, So being protective should not reach the level of suffocating my daughter. My daughter is growing. How can I teach her boundaries without making it too suffocating? I think one of the answers is teach her first the basic principles of the holiness and the purity of the body. Believe me, my sister that will ask the question, if you teach your daughter who is 7 years old today that her body is like the altar, no one touches it, no one plays with it, nobody uncovers it exactly like what Abuna does with the altar. Specific person, specific time, specific duties. You will see your daughter growing up comfortable, unashamed, free, not complicated. So, number one, teach the holy principles of the holiness of the body. Number two, I like very much that moms and dads teach their boys and girls that your body no one should touch except the doctor and mom or dad if they are still young and need to be bathed. If they are 4 years old and you need to bathe them, then mom is the only one and the doctor who can touch your body or naked body. No one in the world. Because we sometimes think so much of sexuality, but we forget other things like harassment and bullying and other things. Number three, it's very important that I explain to my daughter that your body needs to be respected by you and by the other person. Not only you respect your body. If they meet another person who disrespects your body, this person has no business to be your friend. It's like somebody you are driving and he decided that he just wanna stay in your lane while you are in this lane. No, you can't drive this way. I have my lane and the other person has his lane. Number five, please make your daughter be close to a father of confession. It's very important that she's close to you, and I like that very much. And please keep up the great work. I like that my fathers, my parents, my moms and dads listening, please connect your kids to a father of confession as early as possible. As much as you ask your daughter, did you shower? Did you do your homework? Ask her, did you pray? Did you read the Bible? When was the last time you met Abuna? Can we go together? I haven't confessed either. Let's go together. Abuna is such an important figure in adolescence and every stage, but in adolescence and high school and this area, because there is a lot of shame that comes with sexual sins. The kid who touches himself or stimulates himself, the girl who somebody made her look at something she didn't want to look at in a phone, they feel ashamed, they feel embarrassed, they feel guilty. And once they pour themselves before Abuna and they tell him, Abuna, I'm so embarrassed I did this. And Abuna put his hand and he tells her or him, your sins are forgiven, go in peace. They take a breath in and they feel good and they feel free and they can laugh again like a child and they enjoy their childhood beautifully. Why our children are so burdened, so as if they are holding a lot of heavy weights because they are ashamed, they feel guilty. Teach them the path to Abuna, teach them the path to the Father of confession, and hence you will find this kid is growing with freedom, with liberty. Nothing really is holding them. One of the things I need to bring to your attention that you as a parent need to always have a program for your child. a spiritual program, and let's call it a physical program. Spiritual program is all what you all know about. And if you are watching this channel, I expect you are one of those who like to take them to liturgy, tell them about fasting, pray together, Bible, Abuna, confession, repentance. Believe me, and I'm not just trying to sell you something that I have not experimented in my own life, but it's a tried and true. Please do not undermine the spiritual program in the lives of your children and the liberty and freedom they will experience within their sexuality and their identity by being repentant, penitent people. When she knows how to repent after she has done a mistake, when he knows how to ask God for forgiveness when he has committed a sin, you are growing a man and a woman who will grow to become a very healthy husband and a very healthy wife. We don't want to build those who are carrying guilt and they don't know how to laugh and enjoy life. One of the things also that I wish you can consider is the idea of physical advices or practical advices. It's very important that you teach your kid to flee from bad friends. And I don't mean bad meaning by condemning them. I want to tell my child, when you come to eat and there is an apple that looks rotten and another apple that looks good, do you really have to try the rotten apple for you to learn if it's healthy or not? If mom tells you, my darling, this apple will hurt your stomach, take the other one. Listen, I want to teach my children early on how to choose, how to discern, how to be selective, not to condemn people, not to say these people are burning in hell or nothing like that. We respect every single one and his or her own freedom and choices. But as a parent and as a child, I also respect my own. I have the right to choose whom to be my friend or my son's friend. And teach your friends what is a good friend. And we will do that in a different time. Also, please teach your sons and daughters to have a program. No laziness. Now we're coming into the summer and we are had a very tough summer last year. Now people are going to enjoy the summer. Teach them that you want to make the summer a time for zone-free laziness. No laziness in it. The kid who sits too long on an Xbox or a phone or a lot of things can go wrong. Physically, even. His neck can get hurt. His eyes he will get fat because he's eating junk food all the time. And who knows what he or she are watching. So please make them a program. Pay for a monthly membership in gym. Go biking with your kids. Teach your kid a new hobby. Maybe biking, maybe tennis, maybe swimming, maybe anything. Teach them something new, maybe a new language, French or Russian or any language. And it's good that he will have it in the future and will help him to market himself or herself a lot. Also, try to avoid downtime for a long time. I'm not saying he cannot have the phone, but I'm saying 2-3 hours a day, and some people 6 to 8 hours a day. What do you expect when he becomes 18 and 20? He will be 10, 15 pounds at least heavier. He will have neck pain, you'll have a very thick glasses, and you'll have no social friends because you didn't know how to have friends. Work on it from now. Get them membership in many things. If your church has a summer camp, please go with them, serve with them, be with them. Take them to many trips so at least they are not always lazy. I want to end by giving one more idea, which is um, low self esteem. Again, it may take its own time, another time. Please, I urge you, do not speak bad in front of your kids. Meaning, do not tell your daughter she's so fat or so ugly or her hair is bad, or do not tell your boy you are just a failure. Urge you, these words are unacceptable. And the way you are going to destroy your kids cannot sometimes be resolved. Encourage them. Find something good and exaggerate it. And work on it to become his pride or her pride. And then she will have less low self esteem. And then no one can deceive her into doing something that she or he will not want to do. I want to end by saying there are so many blessings of sexual education in the family. You are going to produce a strong personality, stable family, better husband and better wife in the future, better group of people, better society, better church, a purity of mind that you uh, will grow to become better. There is two fast questions that just came. I don't want to lose answer them. How to convince a 19-year-old child to stop going out with non-Christian friend because one parent approves and the other refuses definitely. So number one, I want to say that a 19-year-old, unfortunately, as a parent, you cannot make him or her do anything anymore. I'm so sorry. You can advise, you are only an advisor, but you cannot anymore do what you used to do when he was 7 years old. You cannot do that. No. You can advise him and tell him, my son, I'm very worried about you because this relationship is not making you grow. The second thing, I have no problem that your son has some acquaintances that they are not in the same religion. I worry if that's a very intimate friend because he or she will learn from it. The third point I want to say, and we will have to talk about it in a completely different week. When you and your husband or your spouse are not united in your decision, you are only giving mixed message to your daughter or your son, regardless of the age. And he or she will pick on the side they like. So, 19-year-old, please, you are only going to pray for her, pour yourself before the altar, put your cries and your prayers before God, but you cannot make him or her do anything anymore. He is much older than the age that you could have instructed. Second, you are not, please do not break up in decision with your spouse. Third, it's okay to have acquaintances, but not closest friends. The other question, where can we find parenting book for different age groups? As I explained, I think Abuna Lo Astafanos is one of the books that, in my opinion, is great. Thank you so much for your question. I really enjoyed this session with you very much. I would like to continue receiving your questions throughout the week so I can prepare for the next Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. I would like some of the episodes to be about marital life, marriage life, while other episodes regarding our children and parenting. According to your questions, I'll be able to customize the next episodes. Until we meet again, have a great week. May God bless you. This is Family Matters. Bye-bye.
Are you bored from listening to the same songs? Do you feel sometimes you need to listen to something new? We've got the solution for you. CYC Radio is live now. Tune in on www.cycnow.com or download CYC app on your iPhone. CYC Radio is your radio station.
CYC, Christian Youth Channel.